Welcome to the NAMB Podcast, where we bring you the voices that drive the mortgage industry. Join dynamic hosts Ginger Bell and Matt Shields as they dive into bold conversations with top experts, industry leaders, and change makers from across the country. From insider insights to game-changing trends, this is your front row seat to what's happening right now in the world of home finance.
Well, hi there. Welcome to another episode of the NAMB Podcast. My name's Ginger Bell. I have my co-host with me, Matt Shields. Matt, how are you today?
Ginger, I'm doing fantastic. I'm really excited for our guest today, and I think our listeners are going to love her.
Absolutely. And so let's welcome our guest, Chelsea Gardner, who's the CEO and founder of Fully Aligned Marketing. Hey, Chelsea, how are you? It's always good to see you, my friend.
Hey, always good to see you too. And so nice to meet you, Matt, on here. So excited to be here and talk all the things.
Awesome. So nice to meet you.
So I'm just going to jump right in because, Chelsea, you do so many different things in our industry for education and training, specifically around social media and marketing. And so, just right now we're sitting in, 2026. Matt heads up our NAMB Young Professional group. And so, one of the discussions we always have, especially on social media, is when you're looking at social media and different platforms, there's not just the different platforms, but there's also different generational aspects of the platforms, and who's using what and how they're using it. And so that's almost a point of for some people, and me included, of, a deer in the headlights kind of a thing. Like, where do I start? So when you're talking to someone and they say, I need to do something, where do I need to start? What do you tell them?
So a couple of things. One, if they're looking to do organic social media, so Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, all of those social media platforms that you can think of, they need to know who they are actually trying to target and who they are trying to reach. So if they're trying to reach their realtor partners, if they're trying to reach first-time home buyers, if they're trying to reach people in their market, who are they actually trying to talk to? And then they need to kind of go back and look at, okay, if I'm trying to reach realtors, where are they primarily? Are they going to be on Facebook? Are they going to be on Instagram? Are they going to be on TikTok? And that's where you need to start putting your content and really kind of diving in and really focusing on one platform. If you haven't grown a platform, focus on one first so you don't become overwhelmed, because that's what happens is a lot of people start on social media, they become very overwhelmed. They're trying to do all 17,000 platforms that are out there, and then they get burnt out, and then they're like, it's not working, but it's because they're not focused on one particular platform. So really kind of figuring that out and diving into that. That would be my biggest suggestion.
That's a great tip. I've noticed, like, for me, Instagram was my big one coming in. I didn't have much activity on Facebook. Instagram really helped me. I'm starting to dabble into LinkedIn more, and I'm seeing some good success there. Do you recommend, as a loan officer, really putting some time into LinkedIn too, outside of your traditional social media?
Yeah, I actually I know several clients and also some other loan officers that have really good success on LinkedIn. I will say, just like any other platform, it takes work, right? It takes messaging. It takes having a really good optimized profile and bio and information in your LinkedIn. So I can see any of the platforms working if you're putting that effort into it. It's just a matter of actually engaging on it and actually being, active on those platforms and not just creating content and saying, okay, hopefully people engage and interact and reach out and all of that, because that's just not going to happen. But I do see quite a few have some good success on LinkedIn. And then I see the flip side, right, where people are like, I do all this stuff on LinkedIn and nothing works, or I do all this stuff on Instagram and nothing works. So there's always that pivoting piece, but I definitely can see LinkedIn working for a lot of LOs.
Awesome.
So how about, for some people, having the time to do it is one thing, but when you look at, even if you're not going to be looking at doing it consistently, and outsourcing it to someone like what you and your team can do, how important and I say this as far as when people search for you. So, number one, you need to have a good website, right?
Yeah.
Number two, when people search, because I do the same thing, when I go search for somebody, I'll type their name in. And so what comes up? What am I seeing? So even though you may not buy into social media, even though you may say, I don't have time for it, it's important from the other side of it as well, right?
Right. Yeah. And I'm in the millennial group. So for me, I do a lot of searching on Instagram, on Facebook. I'll go to Google. And if I see when you Google someone, a lot of times what pulls up, their LinkedIn profile pulls up. Now their Instagram profile pulls up. It's searchable through Google. Their Facebook, a lot of times their page will pull up. So there's a lot of different areas that someone can click on now to go and see who is Matt, who is Ginger, right? And if they're going to your business page on LinkedIn, they're going to your business page on Facebook, and if you haven't posted in 6 months, 8 months, 12 months, do you know what I think as a millennial? Oh, Matt, you must no longer be in business, or you don't care enough to show up, right? That is as a millennial, that's what I think. Like if you're not showing up even once or twice a week and putting out value on your platform, then I'm going to go to it and I'm going to say, oh, Ginger must have fallen off the face of the planet. Like maybe she doesn't do this anymore. Maybe she no longer, does what she says she does or what I'm looking for. Maybe this loan officer no longer does loans, or maybe they're not that great because they're not putting out valuable content. That is what's going to go through my head. So
no, that's you're absolutely right. I want to see what you think about this. I had the first client ever say that they searched on ChatGPT for a local lender. And then my name popped up with a couple others. And that was the first time I've heard that. What would be, with going into more AI and ChatGPT, what would be your recommendation for a loan originator to get more exposure on there? I know it's posting to socials, but what else do you recommend to kind of optimize that?
Yeah. So the ChatGPT side, there's a lot of factors to build yourself up over into ChatGPT and literally having those conversations with chat about you and your business to build it up. But one thing that you can do outside of the tech piece inside of chat itself is making sure, kind of going back to what Ginger was saying, making sure you do have a really good website, making sure you do have optimized profiles, right? Because where is ChatGPT getting their information from? Most of the time, it's going to be through search, and it's going to be through what you have out into the world. It doesn't know if you are a loan officer and nowhere in the universe do you have anything that says you're a loan officer. How are you going to ever show up in ChatGPT or show up on Google or show up on Bing? You never will, because nowhere in the universe does it tell them that you do loans. Or if you do, but let's say you specialize in VA loans, right? You're you are the number one person for VA loans in your state. If that is nowhere to be found, how is chat going to know that when someone goes into chat and says, tell me the number one VA loan officer in, Florida, right? That's where I'm at. You will never pull up because you have that information nowhere. So that's kind of where it starts. And then obviously there's a whole tech stack of building yourself up inside of ChatGPT to be searched. But one of those pieces is getting your socials, getting your website, getting that visibility through those other platforms.
That's a great tip.
So we always think of social media as kind of you're putting your information out there. It's a push marketing, and it's an awareness marketing, and and it's a long-term marketing. But I know social media can also be used as far as a lead gen. So what are you saying specifically? Because a lot of times we're posting things on social media. We don't want to be too pushy. I remember one time I had someone who was doing a ton of content. I used to do a lot of video content, and they were doing a ton of content on TikTok for videos. And then he got a call from someone saying, hey, man, thanks for all the information. I just bought my first house. I couldn't have done it without you. And he's like, why didn't you call me? He's like, oh, you do loans? I mean, he seriously was doing all these videos, but he would never put a call to action at the end because he thought it was being too pushy. Mm-hmm. But the reality is people loved his content, and he was doing it in Spanish, and there's not a lot of Spanish content out there. And so they didn't connect the dots, which is so funny because we think, oh, they're going to connect the dots. No, they may not connect the dots. Yeah. And so what are some things, number one, they can do for call to actions? And number two, what are things that you can do to, use social media as a lead gen?
Yeah. So great point, right? People need the next step. They need you to tell them what to do. So if you're a loan officer and you're providing great value, hey, by the way, if you're looking for a house, if you're looking for a loan, if you're looking for a second opinion, that's what I do. You can plug CTAs very easily into content without being pushy, right? If you're providing all this value, you earned the right to put in a CTA that says, call me or reach out to me, or this is what I do. Or by saying, hey, I help people do this. If you have questions, I'm here, right? Very simple things like that can be easy CTAs if you're someone who's like, I don't want to be too salesy, right? Also, the likelihood of people are sold to daily. The likelihood of someone being like, oh my gosh, this person is so pushy. No one's going to do that, right? No one's coming to the end of your video or reading your caption and being like, oh gosh, what a salesy person, right? They're not doing that. Don't give yourself that much credit, honestly, right? Like that's not the case.
Yeah.
And so don't be afraid to do that. And you can also, one way, we don't own our social platforms. That's the biggest thing. We've seen Instagram shut down, Facebook shut down, TikTok go away for, 48 hours or whatever. So when it comes to like lead gen, the biggest thing you can also do, especially if you're starting out, is start building up your email list and start having, getting people off of your platform and into a platform you own. So you own your email list, right? So if your target market's first-time home buyers, put together a first-time homebuyer guide. It doesn't need to be super fancy. It doesn't need to be 75 pages, a one-page PDF download for a first-time homebuyer with a checklist, and say, hey, I have this first-time homebuyer guide. Would love to send it to you. Comment guide, and I'll get it right over. And that's how you get their information. A first-time homebuyer, a realtor, they're not just going to give you their email. You have to give them something in return. So you can't just say, hey, give me your email and I'll send you some tips and ideas. No, you actually have to give them, something in return for them to think, oh, it's valuable enough for me to give you my contact information. And so that's one way that, I always tell people that's how we're going to start building up what you own versus just having followers and likes because last time I checked, you can't really cash in likes and followers, right? You're not going to the bank being like, I've got 10,000 followers. How much you giving me for it? Right. So, but if you have 10,000 people in your email list that you can constantly talk to and reach out to and, actually see the stuff that you're sending out, that's valuable. That can turn into a lot more value and leads than most people saying, oh, I get nothing. I get no leads from social media. And it's like, well, that's probably why, because they're seeing your content once or twice, but then you're not following up with them in any capacity after that.
Well, I think they share things too, because I know I had a client years ago who was doing short videos and emailing them out to his database. And he had just graduated college, was just starting out in the industry. So his database was his friends, his age. Mm-hmm. And he started getting calls from people like his parents' age. And he's like, where are these, leads coming from? So he asked one of them, how did you get my name? And they said, oh, our son sent your email to us. Wow. People do forward things. And especially, like you said, when you give something of value. Mm-hmm. So if you're recording videos and you're putting them on social media, send them out in your email as well. Yeah. Send them to your realtor database. Send them out. And I know call to actions, our friend Carl White has one of the best call to actions. And I absolutely love it because it puts into people's minds, number one, what you do, and number two, to share your name. And he always says, if you or anyone is looking to buy, sell, or refinance, give me a call. That's it. That's all you have to do, is to do something like that.
Yep. Because again, you got to ask, because if you just say, hey, if you're looking to buy, they're like, well, I'm not looking to buy, and they'll, keep going. But if it's like, hey, if you or someone and you're like, oh wait, yeah, actually I do know Sarah, she's looking to buy a house. Like, let me send this info to her.
People will follow the breadcrumbs. You just have to lay the breadcrumbs down. I mean, it's like we always think people are going to connect the dots, but they're not. They're on to the next thing. So you
can't, and it's
consistency.
Yeah, exactly. And you can't really overshare. There are still so many people that are like, you do marketing, right? And it's like, yeah, but like there are still people that just either don't see the content or don't realize it or see one thing and then they don't see anything, right? So like thinking that you're oversharing or you're overselling, like guaranteed 90% of the people still don't know, right? Or they still don't realize that's what you do.
And back to the referral thing, if you're not asking for a referral, the answer is always no. Like
always no.
Why not? And that's just great for mortgage coaching. And you drop some great info, like great knowledge with that. And then the database, like building the emails, like that's a real business activity for originators.
Yeah.
I love that you said that. I just wanted to make sure I mentioned that for our listeners. I love that part. That was awesome.
Yeah. So I want to shift a little bit to ads because I know that's one of the things in the services that you provide. And I don't think people really have a good idea on, how they work. Do they work? What that looks like. So walk me down that path for, kind of social media ads and what platforms they work on.
Yeah. Ads are my absolute favorite. I think every loan officer should be running ads. I'm a little biased, but honestly, it's one of those things where you hear so many people say, oh, organic social media takes a lot of time or takes a lot of effort and I don't see a lot of results or whatever the case may be. And while yes, like I will still tell you need to post consistently because again, millennial over here, if I go to your page and you've got no post, I'm just skipping over you. But the great thing when it comes to ads, they're being ran on Facebook and Instagram, right? So that's Meta. And if you are, let's say you want to target real estate agents, the great thing with ads is you can pull a database list of your real estate agents in your market, right? And upload that directly into Meta and target just those real estate agents with whatever message you want to send them. And so that your message, your video, your content is going to be seen by only those real estate agents in your market that you uploaded. Whereas if you posted that same video organically, right, we're not sure if the real estate agents in your exact market see that video. We're not sure if any real estate agents see it at all, so it's one of those things where I love ads for that reason, because you can get so detailed and so targeted with real estate agents or past clients or prospects. And those people are seeing that content. And so I love ads. That's, if you are not running them, that's one thing that I would definitely say too, is if you want to be seen or known in a specific market in front of certain realtors or remembered by your past clients, right? That's one of the best ways to do it.
So, and Instagram is now open source, like LinkedIn. But Facebook is not, right? And so getting into that open part is important. Are you able to run ads on Instagram or is it just on Facebook? You are. Okay.
Cross-posted. Yeah. So when you run ads for Meta, it's cross-posting on Facebook and on your Instagram page. Yep.
And you have to have a business page to run the ads, right? You have to have that Meta business page.
Yeah, so you do have to have a Facebook business page, and then your Instagram just needs to be a public Instagram, which would be a creator account or a business. Either one works just fine. As long as it's linked to your business page, your Facebook business page, it can cross post on both.
But I love the idea, Chelsea, of knowing when you're putting your content out there that somebody is going to see it and it's going to be your target audience. And the other thing, you can have that one video and it can run for a while, right? It's not like you need to keep doing things. So talk to me about that a little bit.
Yeah. So when you're running a targeted ad, you can essentially change out your ad every week or every other week, kind of depending on how large your list is or how large your target audience is. And so you're creating one really good piece of content weekly or bi-weekly, right? You're not trying to put out 5 really good pieces of content every single week. You are only needing to put together 1 or 2 really good pieces of content every single week, or every other week, depending. So much more minimal effort in terms of the output of content. Now, obviously building the ads and doing all of that's a little different, but the content itself, doing videos, taking photos, or whatever the case may be, much less when it comes to actually the creation of that content.
Yeah. I love it.
So yeah, me too.
Chelsea, you are always a wealth of information, and we've covered so much. Guys, listen, if someone wants to get in touch with you and follow you, where can they find you to say, okay, what Chelsea's saying is what I need to find out more? How can they do that?
Yep, I'm on any social media platform at Fully Aligned Marketing.
Yeah. And Chelsea is also one of our NAMB strategic partners. And so we thank you for that. So you can always go to our NAMB site at namb.org and click on our partners. And Chelsea is always there. And I know you help us a lot with what we do in terms of the education and everything we provide for our members. So we thank you for that support as well.
Yep. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. So you guys, thank you for tuning in to another episode of the NAMB Podcast. You can follow us at nambpodcast.com. Make sure to like, share, and stay tuned for more episodes. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to the NAMB Podcast, brought to you by the National Association of Mortgage Brokers. For more episodes, resources, and guest interviews, visit nambpodcast.com. Don't forget to follow, share, and subscribe, and we look forward to seeing you soon.